Hello, my name is Norman Duhart, and in this video what we're going to do is we are going to install an ESXi 5.5 host. It's a very simple installation process. You begin by putting the CD into your host computer, whatever physical computer you're going to use for your host, and just boot the machine and the installation proceeds. Okay, I've booted my machine with the CD in it. And here's your initial screen, ESXi 5.5, and now it's going to start the boot process. It's a very straightforward process, minimum configuration, and we'll just move through this and just watch how this procedure plays out. Okay, rather than just watching these different modules load, I'm going to jump ahead to the next section and we'll see the next part of loading ESXi. Okay, so that went fairly quickly. And here you have your initial screen, your welcome screen to the installation process. I'm just going to select enter here. And we're going to take mostly defaults. Here's your EULA. I will accept that by pressing F11. It's going to do a scan for devices here. Depending upon your hardware, this may take more or less time. Here we see it's discovered our virtual disk, 50 gigabyte in size, and I'll enter to continue. We'll take the default keyboard type. Then we'll add a password. And we'll confirm the password. And select enter again. Here it's going to gather some additional information. Okay, and here's warning us that this disk is going to be repartitioned. So I'll select F11 again to install. Okay, and now the installation is complete, as you can see. So we simply select to enter here to reboot the system. And now we've installed the system. From here you can download the management tools from the host itself. Our IP address is 192.168.88.128. That would be the IP address of our host. But we also have an IPv6 address as well. Now what we want to do now is we want to do some additional configuration. So I'll press F2. As you can see, the login name is root, and I'll enter the password that I configured earlier. And we'll do some additional customization. Now here again you have the option to configure the password, configure the management network. So there are various configuration options and troubleshooting options that you get in this initial screen here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to configure the management network. We're going to make some additional changes here. So here's our network adapters. If you wanted a VLAN, you could set that up as well. Our IP configuration, so we're going to modify this somewhat. And as you can see here, it's using DHCP by default. I would prefer a static IP address. 192.168.88.128 is what we'll use. A subnet mask, and there's our default gateway is 192.168.88.2. So now we have a static IP address here. Our IPv6, we're really not going to be using that in this particular instance, so I'll disable that by removing that check mark. Our DNS configuration, select enter. Now I'm going to change this DNS primary server address because I have one on my virtual network already, and I'll use that. For secondary, I'll use the default, which is also the gateway. That's 88.2. And lastly, we'll change the host name from localhost. This is going to be in a Windows domain. And so we're going to rename this host ESXi 5-1. And then DNS suffixes, we're going to add a suffix. You can see the default here is local domain. So use spaces or commas to separate multiple entries. We're going to put in test.net, which is going to be our Active Directory domain. So here you can see we have local domain and test.net for our DNS suffixes. We have a primary and secondary DNS server and our host name. We've disabled IPv6. We have made our IPv4 configuration static. And those are the changes that we wanted to make. So now escape to exit and apply the changes. And the server will reboot. And there we go. So now you can see our configuration here has been altered. Again, we have our host name here, ESXi 5-1, and our IP address, which you can see now is static. So if we wanted to access this particular host in order to download these management tools, we could just go to our browser, type in http://ESXi 5-1 and download the Vsphere client and then manage this particular host. That is our quick and simple install of an ESXi 5.5 host. Okay, now that we have our ESXi host installed, the next thing I want to do is I want to show you how to manage this host using your Vsphere client. So I'm going to go over to my Windows 2012 client and install the Vsphere client from there. Here we are on my Windows 2012 host machine. As you can see, I've opened up a browser and put in the address for the ESXi host, ESXi 5-1.test.net. So I can click here, continue to this website, and this will take us to the ESXi host page. And you can see here, we can download the Vsphere client, we can download the vCenter server, we can download virtual appliances, etc. We can browse the data stores on the host itself. So we can download the client from here, or, let me close this out for you. We can go to our vCenter CD, and we can just download the client from here. Now, a little bit later on, I'll show you how to install a vCenter server from this same installer package. So what we're going to do here is we're going to install the VMware vSphere client. So we'll click here, select to install, and the installation process will begin. So it's going to do an extraction here, and then it's going to load the files, and then we'll do the install. Alright, so here the installation process is beginning. The language for the installation, if we wanted a different language, we could select our drop down here. We're going to use English. Select OK. And here it's extracting the MSI. And as you can see, this is the Vsphere Client 5.5 edition. Now this is the beginning of the installation process. To continue, click Next. Accept the EULA. It's going to give you the default location. If we wanted to change that, we could modify that here. If we wanted to change any of the settings, we have that option here. And then it begins the install. Once the client is installed, we'll access our ESXi host, and I'll show you some of the configuration options that we can make from within the Vsphere client. Okay, so now the installation process is completed, and as you can see, it's placed a shortcut on our desktop. So we'll select Finish here, and then we'll just click our VMware vSphere client. Now here we are, and as you can see here, I have the ESXi 5-1.test.net for the ESXi host name, but we could also get there by IP address. So I'll put in here the username, which is root, and I'll also add the password, which we configured when we install the ESXi host. Now once we attach this host to a Windows domain, we can do some configuration and actually use our Windows session credentials to log in instead. Now here's giving us a security warning. Click to ignore the certificate and use the current SSL certificate, or we can install the certificate. So I'll select to install it here and ignore there. It says it's trusted, but it's not the same certificate being presented. Click yes to use the newly presented certificate. I'll click yes. It's loading the inventory, the different plugins, loading the main form. Now this is an evaluation notice. Since this is an evaluation version of ESXi, it's going to give us this notice and tells you that it has 60 days before it will expire. Now here you can see we have our ESXi 5-1.test.net host, and then you have different tabs up here that you can use to manage your host. So you have a summary tab. If we had any virtual machines installed, you could see those here. Resource allocation, CPU, memory and storage, performance of the particular host, the configuration, local users and groups, events, and permissions. So what I want to look at here is the configuration. So we can look at the configuration of our host. So first we have here is health. So you can see the processors, the different CPU sockets, the different software components. So again, processors here, memory, storage. Right now we only have this one data store. This is the internal hard drive on the ESXi server. As you can see, local VMware disk, networking. This is our default networking setup. We have the VM network and the management network, and there's our one NIC. Later on we'll add a storage adapter so that we can attach to a SAN. Network adapters. Here's VMNIC 0 that you saw when we did the installation. A gigabit NIC is configured to negotiate the connection. There's the switch, the MAC address, etc. Under advanced settings, you have some different options there. If you're going to use direct I/O, power management options here. If we had a different policy we wanted to use. License features. Now this is an evaluation license, so all of the product features are available to us here. Time configuration. If we wanted to use an NTP server, we could use that here. You can see here by default that's stopped. DNS and routing. If we wanted to make modifications to our DNS configuration, we could do that here. We would select properties, ESXi 5-1. Here you can see our preferred and our alternate DNS servers. Look for hosts in the following domains. All of this information we configured during the installation. Authentication services. Right now our directory services type is local authentication, but what we want to do is we're going to join this to an Active Directory domain. So we have here local authentication. Select directory service type. Use the drop down and select Active Directory. Add our domain name. And then select to join the domain. We add a username from the domain with permission to join computer objects. Put in our password. Select to join the domain. It will go out to the DNS server, and as you can see now, we are now a part of the test.net domain. If we wanted to leave the domain, we could select this option here, and I'll just say OK here. And you can see now that we have configured this particular ESXi host to be a member of the test.net domain. Now I'm going to go over to the domain controller and show you what happens once this ESXi host joins the domain. So now we're on the domain controller, and I'm going to open up Users and Computers. And here you can see our ESXi host is now a member of our Active Directory domain. Now I've created an OU here for ESXi service. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this host over to the server's OU. Moving objects in Active Directory can prevent your existing system from working the way it was designed. So moving it to a different OU can affect the GPOs. We don't have any of that configured at this point, so we just want to move this. So now I've installed this host in Active Directory, and you can see I have an ESXi 5-2 already in this particular container. And so I will just modify this information here, go to Properties, and I will just make this the same as the one that's already in there. And now we have two ESXi hosts located in the ESXi servers in our Active Directory environment. Now back over to our 2012 client, and again you can see our configuration. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to install vCenter, a server in this environment, and show you how to manage these hosts from your vCenter server.